She is knocking on the door and she knows there are a lot of bad kids. All right, everyone, so buckle up. Are we heading towards the mother, the flagship of all real estate crashes in the history? Well, that's $1 billion question, even though we are now seeing more and more cracks. We are seeing red flags everywhere. And yet, there are two types of buyers and two types of sellers. And I thought about that for a long time. And I said, how do I distinguish or how do I make the distinction between these two types of these two breeds of people, right? And it's very simple, actually. So you have those people that bought a long time ago. They're out of a mortgage or it's very low. They're very comfortable. They have been riding in a property without debt for a long time. And they're these boomers and they're like, listen, we don't care whatever happens. We're very comfortable and good for you. On the contrary, you have these people that bought at the peak, right? And I went back, right? Like I went back and I interviewed people that went through the financial crisis of 2008. I spoke to them. I spoke to the people in the 90s. And there are a lot of similarities, right? Even speaking to people that have purchased in 2020, 2021, and the early 2022, right? And it seems like that type in that particular position, it's defending their position, right? So it seems like they do not want to listen to anybody, no media, no nothing. They are defending the position. And I spoke to somebody and they have mentioned the same thing, right? They have purchased in 2007 in the United States and they said, look, I was defending my own position for a long time. It's like having these blinders on and not believing what everybody else says. And I asked him, why would you think that? I mean, like if somebody that you know or don't know, but they have a pedigree, they know what they're talking about, or they're in the industry, and they're raising awareness or they're raising the red flag, why wouldn't you listen? At least listen what they have to say. Why would you defend your position? And they said, well, look, it like you don't want to be stupid, or you don't want to look stupid, or you don't want to feel like you made the wrong move or how others will think of you, and therefore you defend your position and you keep ongoing with that particular story of inner ego and everything that comes with that until you basically cannot hold no more, and the outcome is inevitable. Like you break apart, you go bankrupt, and you lose a lot of stuff, right? Like including mental health, financial. You might have to move and change geographical location, cities, employment, and all of that. So it is not easy. It is not easy to actually say it to yourself, right? It is easy for me to tell you in the camera, but for you to actually sit in front of a mirror and say, look, this is where I'm at. I cannot afford this. Yes, mistake or not mistake or whatever it is, but my income today cannot support whatever is going on. And the chances are very slim to none that it will change magically overnight, right? So this is something I wanted to touch on, and I do believe that the crisis will be amplified as we are moving on. So history repeat itself. And yes, we know the financial crisis of 2008 was devastating in the United States. Some people heard about it, some people know more than others, but I felt for these people even back then, like they were losing a lot of money, right? And I know some personal examples, people owning homes that were worth like around $800,000 mark, and then they had to sell for a fraction of that in the low 200,000s, right? So at that time in Canada, like we felt that, 6 months to a year of that delay and a little bit of that shakiness, but we were not affected as much. And to whoever I spoke here, they were like, "Ah, we're a little bit different than the United States, and we're much smarter. We have a better banking system and all of that stuff." Might be true, might be not true, but uh, they could not believe that a property would drop from like 800,000 to 200,000, or a condo waterfront from 500 to 150, etc. Right? So that was happening back in the day in the financial crisis, and you kind of feel bad, right? Like you're looking at it, you're like, oh my gosh, can it happen here, right? So we were writing that out. How, I really don't know, but we were, right? So one of those reasons were obviously migration. Like a lot of people have migrated to Canada. They were buying properties. They were grouping up to buy properties and whatnot, right? So, and during the pandemic, obviously, like people left the city, and some of these geographic locations outside the city saw a boom, an unrealistic boom, due to people that just wanted to leave the big city and just go there because remote employment and all of that stuff. And then migration that could afford a certain price bracket. And we know around Toronto, GTA, some of these little towns or pockets or little cities, what we haven't seen those spikes ever, right? Like even the locals in these towns, they were like scratching their heads, and they're like, what are you talking about? Like my house went from 350 to 450 in 3 months. Is that what you're telling me? Like they have not heard that something like that was even possible, right? Because I remember like close to 2 decades ago when I was trading in some of these small cities, like we were nickel and diming for $500 on a deal. It was that crazy, nitpicking, right? And and it was like, I remember one seller wanted to take the bulbs from the bathroom. Like, I had like those bulbs, like 6 or 8 bulbs. They're like, well, I sell it to you for that price, and I'll give the $500 off, but I will take those bulbs. And like, the buyer was from the city, from Toronto. They're like, I don't care, I'll just go to Home Depot. But you see what I'm saying? Like people were taking homes and home ownership totally different, more personal, right? Like it was their home. It was not meant to be flipped, right? And then obviously changed, and they have seen these increases. I don't know if greed got to them as well, but I've seen the locals in these little towns flip. So those communities, those geographical locations saw a huge cut from 2022, right? Like devastating. 30% off, 40% off. It's even happening today, right? So it is hard to gain that back, right? And most people that left, they have to come back to the city. They have to either drive, or their remote employment does not work anymore and whatever. But they are hurting big time. So let's move on. No one wants to lose the home. Well, it is true. I mean, and it is sad, right? Like no one wants to lose, but like not everybody is doing the right steps. Think about it. There's in every investment or anything that you put your money or time towards to, there's risks involved. In a stock market, there are stocks that are safer, and some stocks are higher profit but more risk, right? The more risk, the higher profits, right? So So a lot of people are going through a hard time and they're holding to that, last thread, hoping that, Canadian government, international political government, US government, their neighbor or their boss will somehow magically fix their problems, right? I do believe that is not physically possible, right? And I don't think that our current state here in Canada across all provinces will be able to come to a solution, long term, short term. Like everybody is looking towards that short term solution, over the weekend kind of fix. And I don't think that is possible, right? So basically you're stuck with what you have. And look, if you're digging yourself a bigger hole every month just to survive, you better figure out a better plan. Because what if it lasts another 3 years? I know a lot of you out there, they're watching, they're like, nah, man, the lights will turn on, the market will, ignite this summer. Well, the same people were saying in the beginning of 25. Then the same people were saying, don't worry about it in springtime. Well, spring is over, market is not great. Then they're saying, don't worry, it'll hit in summer. Well, what if it doesn't? What's your plan? If it doesn't hit in summer, and if it doesn't hit in summer of 2026 or 2027, what's the plan? So all I'm saying, do you have a plan if it doesn't hit? If it hits, we're good, all of us, no problem. But what if it doesn't hit? All right, so the mother is knocking on the door. The mother of all real estate crashes in all segments, in all categories. She is knocking on the door, and she knows there are a lot of bad kids and there is a house arrest, so something has to happen. So the mother is very, very upset, right? So I think we are now in that bottleneck situation where, I personally don't see a way out. Too many units are coming for occupancy, at least in Toronto GTA, right? Like, 30 to 40,000 in 2025. People already, my phone is ringing every day. I can't close. What should I do? Should I take a blanket mortgage? Like what is a blanket mortgage? Like, you know what I mean? Like they have to come up with all these funds. They cannot get a mortgage, period, right? Like they overextended themselves, right? Then you have the next year again, 20, 30,000, right? And then with all the inventory that we have, the homes are not selling for expected price in triple A locations throughout the whole Toronto or GTA. Top locations, I'm talking top-notch locations, they're not selling unless the value exceeds the list price. So think about that. The value of the home has to exceed, and people are picking and nitpicking and they're looking at everything now, right? If the paint job is not good, if this, if that, and the other, and they want the perfect street. Like if they're buying, they want to make sure that they can be there for the next decade or two, right? So everything matters. And if the value does not exceed, not at par with your listing price, exceed the listing price, you're not gonna have a sale, right? So I think I'll leave you with this, and I hope you got something out of this video, and think about it. And what do you actually think? Are we heading into the mother of all real estate crashes ever, or is it just a doom and gloom video, and it will pass and we are going to be fine in this year and the upcoming year? Please leave all your comments. Thank you all for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.